Hey guys, Jay here. So I want to make a quick update video on the changes that I have made on the Lazy Sparker character. It is a pseudo Autospark with Earthbound. So we kill a shock enemy, we trigger Spark. The Spark kills shock enemies, it will trigger more Spark. And so it just creates a full screen of sparks everywhere. So I've got quite a lot of videos on this build actually, but I keep making changes and I want to keep you guys updated on the progress of the character. I think this one is actually pretty big, even though it is very small change, but it is actually pretty big. So first of all, I think the most important thing I want to mention in this video today is going to be the cast on shock that is only active on bosses, on weapon set 2 for bosses. This is the curse setup. So conductivity, voltaic mark, heightened curse, and this is the change. I put curse ground into this one. Why? Because if you do cast on shock for the curse, you cannot really, make the enemy take the, to be applied by the curse immediately if you don't use the curse ground. And if the lightning conduit trigger in between the delay of the curse activation, it does not benefit from the resistances, the reduced resistances. So I think conductivity, curse ground is a huge upgrade in terms of like overall burst damage and consistency of that burst damage. So if that makes sense. Second, for cast on shock, before I used energy retention here, but because we are going more toward the direction of trying to like one-shot things, so just get more damage is very good. And I just realized that we can use extraction support for a little bit more damage. It is not the best thing in the world. It's literally the last link that I'm going to put in here. Why? Well, because it is chaos damage. It is extra chaos damage. It actually works very well if we are CI, we have only one life, so the remove 10% of life on use doesn't really do anything. At least this is how it works for now. So my lightning conduit actually have some extra damage because you are not having a lot of options to put into the lightning conduit. You don't really have a lot because control destruction is one, element of focus is one. This is a non-crit build, so you cannot do anything crit. The considered casting doesn't work. And so yeah, extraction is going to be the last link here instead of energy retention, which is going to add a little bit more damage. And last but not least, the skill tree. I did change around the skill tree a little bit, so because I am wanting to push toward like bosses, so I am speccing out of these duration nodes and these projectile speed nodes. Why? Because my spark, I do think that it is reaching very far away already because it triggered from the enemies that die. So it doesn't really travel from your character, but it trigger from the enemy, from the monster that die. And normally they are nearby just another monster. So you don't really need a lot of projectile speed. If I have more levels, right? I am, by the way, with these points that I spec out from these projectile speed and duration, I am getting more jewel slot. I am getting jewel slot here, and eventually I am going to get this jewel slot here in the next level. Right now my character is level 93. I have edited the mobiletic links to reflect this change. It is going to be a plan for level 95 character. Just so you know, the last couple of levels, like last 10, maybe 15 levels, is just getting some jewel slot. So here you can get jewel slot here. So yeah, it's just not going to affect you if you are going to follow from like earlier levels. But anyway, stacking jewels here give me a lot of utility. For example, here I can have more spirit, which is very hard to get for this build. I can get more spirit to get an additional cast on shock chance that as I talked about in the previous video. And yeah, more jewels mean I can get more module slot means I can get more jewels with increased effect or increased magnitude of shock or magnitude of ailment. So it just is an insane multiplier for single target damage. So yeah, I think jewels overall is just going to be the way towards the end. Obviously, by the way, you can go for Adorn setup, which is going to be very insane because it can potentially double the amount of shock magnitude that you can get from the jewels. And yeah, Adorn is just going to be crazy because all, not all literally, but like 90% of all these jewels that I'm having right now is like 2 prop jewels. So imagine if they are 2 props, they are magic jewels, they are corrupted, and they got like double the effect by Adorn. It is going to be absolutely insane if you go for Adorn, if you have the budget. My problem is just, well, right now I'm still very tight on budget. I just go for rare jewels, which is way cheaper, right? Anyway, that is all the changes that I've made on this character. I think it just makes it better. If you want to look at me running this Bridgestone, this is the second one. Previous one was the first tier. This is the second tier. A little bit on the situation with me not running tier 4 bosses pinnacles. Well, I try to keep my experience like as authentic as possible. Why? Because yeah, I want to experience the game. It's a new game, right? So I don't really want to just rush through it, buy everything, buy all the fragments, and just run it. I want to actually progress through the game, just how it feels like. Maybe in the second league or the third, I will just play like a madman. But right now, I play at my own pace, and right now this is where I progress to, right? So yeah. And by the way, one problem with the end game when the game was released before the recent 0.1.1 patch is I don't really think the end game is good at all. I play a little bit of it and I just get bored of it. So I decided that I will just level up a lot of characters. I am having right now 8 different characters of 8 different ascendancy classes. So literally everything that I want to test out right now, almost everything I have a character ready to just like really play a build. I don't need to level it through the campaign anymore. So yeah, overall it works out. Now with the 0.1.1 patch, I think the end game is so much better. And so yeah, I decided to go ahead and grind the end game. And this is the character that I enjoyed the most in the end game. The stat stacking is it's good, but this just feels better for me. In terms of strength, both can be very strong because literally, even though I put my perks into it, I would say at the core, right? The stat stacking Pillar of Kid God is the stat stacking build. It is very strong. There is no like deny on it. This is a mana stacking build, which is also like a meta build because right now the game is not very well balanced. So you have quite a limited amount of options to go for scaling offenses and defenses. So if you want to make something that is like kind of viable in the end game right now, there's not a lot of things that you can go for. And yeah, even though I use a bunch of different uniques from the people that normally you play Archmage, this build, well, it's still an Archmage build. So overall, yeah, I just want to get everything clear. So that is the clear for the breach. And let's go to the boss. I don't think tier 2 is going to be any problem at all, you know. So I can put this thing down, start casting, look at my mana, and make sure I don't run out of mana. And I think it's pretty good, no? Not the best, but pretty good. Again, no gloves, so yeah, yikes. Anyway, I think the build has a lot of potential. Why am I so sure? Well, again, it is the meta build. It is the mana stacking. If you just go for like best PoE build right now in the game, you will either see stat stacking or mana stacking. So this is just my low budget version. Even though right now the character is like 50 divines put into it, it's still very low budget compared to like a Archmage, a random one that you will see out there because it can go up to like hundreds of divines, maybe thousands, because the gear can be very expensive. Like one weapon plus 5 good one can be like 30 divines. A ingenuity belt can be very expensive. The 5 socket Morio Invictus can be very, very expensive as well. So there's a lot of things. A +3 amulet with like spirit and mana and increased mana can be extremely, extremely expensive in the category of hundreds of divine for one single item slot. So there is a lot of rooms to improve the build. But I think with the bare minimum, the skeleton of the character works very well. At least, especially for the majority of the content that we are going to grind in the game, which is the mapping. I think this build feels amazing. So I would highly recommend you to try it out. It can get nerfed. Why? Because again, it is one of the strongest build in the game, or it is based on one of the strongest damage scaling mechanic in the game right now. So there is a chance it might get nerfed. Maybe if it gets nerfed, I don't think this staff is going to get nerfed at all. It is still like a very off meta thing. But if the Archmage get nerfed, it can get nerfed. However, there might be other ways that GG is going to buff that we are going to be able to scale the damage in a different way than like mana stacking and Archmage overall. So that is everything I want to share and show in this video today. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That is the best way that you can support me right now, and it's so very free. And I do have the Mobiletic links, the written guide, updated and linked in the description of the video, so you can check it out if you want to follow the setup. Obviously, it's not the optimal way because the Mobiletic cannot really show everything. I try to include as much detail as possible, but you know, now and then there will be question popped by random people because there are something that they don't get from all the things that I have talked about and all the things that I have written about. So yeah, feel free to leave any comment on you know, where you can where you're struggling with putting together this character, or if you have any problem playing this. I'm very happy to help anytime that I can. So yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.